Hi, everyone. Welcome to Period Talk Live. I am here with my dear friend, Aimee Raupp. Hi.
Hi.
We're like, hey.
Thanks so much for having me.
You're so welcome. I am so excited because your book has launched today. Congratulations.
Here she is.
There it is. I know.
Yay.
Yes.
It all. So beautiful, right?
Oh, live and in person. Yes. I'm psyched for you. This is so cool. Okay, well, we have a lot of good stuff to cover today. First of all, I should probably say who you are. So everyone, this is my friend and my acupuncturist, fertility goddess, Aimee Raupp. She is, like I said, a women's health expert and acupuncturist who works with a lot of women on their fertility and their hormones. And one of her, I think it's your third book now, right?
This is my third book. Yeah.
Yes, has just come out today. It's called Body Belief. And I'm just really excited to chat with you today about what's in this book and all about autoimmunity, because I feel like this is a big problem for a lot of people. So
especially when it comes to hormones, right? You know?
Yes. Totally.
And that's really the reason why I wrote the book too, was when I was writing my second book, Yes, You Can Get Pregnant, which was all about natural ways to optimize fertility. I started to realize that all these women with unexplained fertility challenges, actually most of them have an undiagnosed or a mismanaged autoimmune condition.
Right.
One, most commonly, such as Hashimoto's, right? So a lot of these girls come in and they know that they have hypothyroidism, but no one's actually checked their thyroid antibodies. And there's a whole, for us, right on our side, we know that there's a whole nother layer of treatment then if they're hypo versus Hashimoto's. And the autoimmune component, plays a role in endometriosis. It plays a role in polycystic ovaries. So really anything major that could be going on to disrupt the hormones, autoimmunity plays a role.
Yes.
So I was
100%.
inspired then to take that conversation to the next level. And that's why I wrote Body Belief. And it is geared towards women because autoimmunity seems to be affecting women a lot more than men. It's like 75% more women are affected than men, and women in their prime. So 20s, 30s, and 40s, like they say something like 1 out of 9 women will get diagnosed with an autoimmune condition. In their prime, it's incredible. That's crazy.
And that's just in the U.S., right? I mean, I imagine worldwide numbers.
30 million American women. We're just looking at U.S. numbers right now. Mm-hmm. So it's definitely affecting. Am I echoing?
No, not at all. No, I'm just like scratching my face.
Oh my gosh. So
you sound perfect.
Women are getting extremely impacted, and the current Western medical belief behind that is because there's so many new chemicals in our environment, right? We've introduced over 80,000 chemicals into our environment, and they're endocrine disrupting chemicals. So they're affecting women a lot more than they're affecting men. But in Body, I take it to another level as far as there's also an emotional component, right?
So that's what I wanted to ask about.
Yeah.
Just like, I mean, I suppose one of my bigger questions was, why, first of all, why is autoimmunity such a problem now? I mean, I know you mentioned the chemicals, but what else is going on?
So, I do think it's twofold, right? I think we have to look at, for sure, it's environmental, right? For certain. And so environmental means obviously the chemicals we're exposed to, the chemicals on the foods we eat, and those toxins. But I also believe that it means the toxins in our thought processes, the toxins in our relationships, that can't be overlooked. And so there's a lot of autoimmune books out there, and I think they're all wonderful. Like Sarah Ballantyne's book is incredible and so informative. Emotional piece. There's no autoimmune books out there that are addressing this piece. They might mention stress as a component, but that's about it.
Yeah.
And as a practitioner of Chinese medicine, I'm trained to see both a physical reason for the disease or illness or whatever you have, the manifestation, and an emotional. And so if autoimmunity is the body attacking itself on a cellular level, we then look and say, well, where on the emotional level are you attacking yourself? So there's, where is there more hostility emotionally and cellularly than there is harmony? Right. And in body belief, I'll really bring that to life because, you know, as I say in the book, I could give you the diet and the lifestyle to follow, and you would get healed, right, for the most part. But would it be lasting results if you didn't first, you know, I have 3 pillars in the book. The first is to reconnect to yourself. And then the second is to begin to renew your beliefs. And then the third is the Reawaken plan, which is all about the lifestyle and the diet. But I don't think until we shift and begin to live in our bodies again and form a kinder, more compassionate relationship with ourselves, shift some of our beliefs about our body, which is why it's called body belief, and then implement the lifestyle changes, I think that's when you set the stage for real healing. So, you know, and then that token too, women just seem to be a lot more critical of themselves. And we also tend to carry the burden of everyone else in our lives, right? You know, we take on the burdens of our partners, of our children, if you will, you know, anything, friendships. We just tend to take everything on and put everything, you know, before ourselves. So what I'm trying to teach, and I know it's a big part of what you teach, is, you know, that you are the most important person first. You need to nourish you. And then from that space, everything else can shift.
Damn straight.
It's
right on. So true. And I feel like, oh, now I have an echo. Great. Awesome. It's fine. Autoimmunity is super close to my heart because my mom has rheumatoid arthritis, and so much of it, well, she thinks so, and I think so too, based on her life experiences and what happened to her as a girl and a teenager. There was definitely trauma in her life, and so, you know, and then she used coping mechanisms that weren't exactly the greatest, and as a result, like, her RAs just continued to progressively get worse and worse, and she's been on several drugs, and so. You are coming at it from the perspective that you don't actually even need to develop an autoimmune disease, I assume, right? Like, you're just saying that there's so much you can do to mitigate, the effects of chronic stress or trauma or
you know, I think we should think about too, like, if the incidence of autoimmunity has tripled in the last 40 years, it's just going to continue that upward trend. So it's, you know, and even in the book, I have like some general questions, like, you might not have been diagnosed with an autoimmune, but if you are dealing with like a skin condition like rosacea or psoriasis, if you've had multiple miscarriages, you feel hormonally out of whack all the time, brain fog, you know, GI issues like gas, bloating, you always get that cold that's going around the office. You know, those types of symptoms are big clues to us, or that you've tried so many things and nothing's really working. That's another big clue in that there's autoimmunity going on in the body. And so to what extent does it really matter? I would just like to help tame it. And because it's always about this balance of like the hostility versus the harmony. So if we could just get it that you were more harmonious than hostile, your body will continue to thrive, right? Whereas, you know, but it's interesting too that you said about your mom, because I think that's something very significant as well. There's interesting research that shows that the perception of fear or trauma, stress, you know, the hormones that it causes us to release, right? Like what you're familiar with, like cortisol and norepinephrine. When cells are exposed to those hormones, they actually die. They get like, they start to, you know, break down and die. Inflammation goes up. Those hormones are unsustainable to life. Whereas the perception of love or harmony or peace or ease or joy release oxytocin, growth hormone, serotonin. Those cause cells to thrive. So it's really interesting. So even if it could just be a severe traumatic experience that then sets off the autoimmune cascade, and trauma looks so different to so many people, right? So trauma could be losing a job. Trauma could be having a baby, even though it's the happiest moment of your life. Trauma could be having fertility challenges, you know, so it doesn't have to be this significant childhood trauma, right? It's just trauma and how your body handles it. And then you're in this constant state of fight or flight, and that will trigger this hostility on a cellular level.
Which makes complete sense. And I mean, for me too, you know, I was told in my early 20s that I might have rheumatoid arthritis too. And then they thought maybe I had Crohn's, and, you know, and I went back and forth, and eventually I just gave up, and I started to take matters into my own hands, as you know, and started to eat better and really take care of myself in a different way. But I just feel like you're basically telling people that they have so much more control over their destiny than, and that the way that they perceive stress as well is another big component, I imagine. Stress perception is huge, isn't it?
And for you, right, the rheumatoid thing, because it's like genetic, right? But so you just have a predisposition.
Yes.
And we all have predispositions, but it's really the epigenetic factor that's more important. And epigenetics shows us that how we live our life impacts whether those genes turn on or turn off. And of course, diet and lifestyle have so much to do with that, but so does how we manage our stress or how we recover from traumas or, you know, allow our bodies to heal from certain instances. And so, yeah, that's my favorite part, you know, and I say it in the book too, of like, you know, two things that I say throughout the book of your body hears everything your brain says, you know, so what is the conversation you're having? And then also the best thing about your beliefs, you know, because your belief could be, right, like you're a perfect example of my mom has rheumatoid arthritis, chances are I'll get it, right? That could be your belief. And then you kind of live in this state about that belief because you see her suffering. And that state of fear about that belief can actually become a self-fulfilling prophecy, not just by the thoughts you think, but because it affects you on a cellular level and causes more inflammation and can set up the autoimmune cascade. But on the other hand, you have a lot more power in this sense of, well, there's probably plenty of people that have the predisposition to rheumatoid that don't show up with it, right? That can choose other lifestyles of which you're doing right now, right? And you're spreading that to the masses. So it's, you know, it really is about us taking back the power and us kind of, you know, as I say in the book, and I've been saying a lot in all these interviews, of taking the responsibility for your health. And I don't think that has to be in a sense that you've been irresponsible, but just more that you have a lot more power over this than you have, you know, previously thought.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. I feel like that's the missing component is that when you diagnose a woman, a man, anyone with a condition, and then say something along the lines of this is, you know, something you have for life, their treatment options are immediately reduced to practically nothing. And their belief that they can feel better too.
Immune system suppressant, that's really the only treatment option. And I do think a lot of like the autoimmune paleo and all that, and the diet and body belief is similar to the autoimmune paleo with some Chinese medicine, you know, tweaks, if you will. But there's so much more than just diet that we can do to mitigate this inflammation in our body. And, you know, I think we're overlooking a really big piece, which is the thoughts that we think and the beliefs that we have about our body and whether or not we're actually living in our body. I know that's one thing you always say too, of like listening to the body cues, like what is your body telling you? How is it responding?
Absolutely.
You know that so many women that we work with are not, they're living from here up, but that's it. You know, they're not in their bodies.
That's a fact.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk to you about that. So the premise of body belief, can you talk more about it? I mean, I know we're getting to that for the most part, but it would be good to hear for, you know, a very basic understanding of what body belief is and who is it for?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think it's for any woman who wants to feel better. Yeah. Whether you've been diagnosed with an autoimmune condition or not.
It's like everyone.
It's everyone. For certain, if you have any of the, I think the trigger symptoms, you know, the constant brain fog, inability to lose weight, you know, psoriasis, eczema, GI symptoms, fertility challenges, miscarriages, you know, so I mean, we're talking to a large group of women. And then also if you have a known autoimmune condition, this book is for you. But I think it goes beyond that too, because it is about preventing the autoimmunity from happening. Pillars. So the first is that, you know, it's all about reconnecting to you. And that's like the first, you know, not the first chapter, but the first section of the book. I discuss the importance of living in your body. Again, tons of tips and tools and strategies on how to begin to reconnect to yourself. And by reconnect, I mean just forming a kinder relationship with yourself, you know, as basic as looking in the mirror and saying something nice to yourself or liking who you are, or how you show up in the world, right? Cheering yourself on more than you beat yourself up. That's a nice reconnected person.
Yes.
And then from being reconnected, we can begin to hear the conversation we're having in the privacy of our own mind, which then gives us a clue as to what our beliefs are. And I give you, again, lots of tools on how to begin to reform your body beliefs, and not from going from a place of, you know, I'm screwed, it's in my genes, I'm going to get the disease, to, oh my God, I'm perfect and I'll never get that disease, but more to a place of other people have lived with this genetic predisposition and have learned and how to manage it. And if they can improve their health, I can too, right? So to start to begin to soften those harsh beliefs to something softer and kinder. And then from that place, you know, I have a whole tool in the book called The Art of Shifting Your Beliefs. And it's teaching you how to begin to rewire. But first you have to hear what the belief is. You know, we have upwards of 50,000 thoughts a day, and 90% of them are the same. So chances are the belief that you figure out, you know, you're thinking all day long, all the time, every day. So we start to soften those. And then we head into the third pillar of the book, the Reawaken phase, which is a diet and lifestyle plan. So it's an elimination diet, basically. We have a prep phase. We have a purify phase where you're eating super clean and, you know, not a lot of food besides broth and some protein and some sweet potatoes and avocados for about 11 days. And then you move into the Reawaken phase where you're adding in different foods week by week. So it lasts through about 11 weeks of you know, adding things in. And we created a beautifully supportive Facebook group so that people can begin to do this together, a community. I think that'll be a lot easier for people, because the diet, an elimination diet, is tough, you know, and there's no way around it. And I am asking a lot of my readers, and I know that, but I also think, you know, just like any autoimmune paleo approach, we have to do it that way to figure out which triggers are your triggers. And I believe, you know, my clinical experience, and I know you feel similarly, you know, a lot of those food allergy tests are kind of bogus. You know, you can't get that far with them. I shouldn't say bogus, maybe that's, they change depending on what your diet is. They're not 100% accurate. The only real accurate way to figure out what's aggravating your body and your symptoms is to do an elimination diet.
Great.
So we move into that. And then there's, you know, also a bath and beauty detox in the book, and, you know, household detox to get rid of all the chemicals in your environment. And then there's, you know, meditations and some yoga movements and qigong. And, you know, there's a lot in this book. There's a lot of information. We created a free digital workshop for anyone who orders the book. We were doing it as a pre-order giveaway, but we're going to extend it for the next, I think, 2 weeks. So it's 5 hours of incredible content to go along with the Body Belief book. And then you get the Body Belief community. And then that way you can really begin to put it all together, because it is quite an undertaking. But even if you worked on the mindset piece, I think you would see results. And even if you just worked on the diet piece, you would definitely see results too. But I would love for everyone to work on both.
Oh my God. Amazing.
It's a lot.
Yeah, it is a lot. And I like what you said about you were asking a lot of
We're talking about healing a chronic condition, right? You know?
Right. Yeah, exactly. So that's the whole point, is that, yes, you're asking a lot of people, but you've got to step up your game if you really want to address this. If you feel really deeply that you want to figure this out. I felt that way it was almost 20 years ago, 18 years ago. And
I'm willing to do anything. Like, I had eczema all over my face. It was on my eyes, to the point where I wouldn't leave the house. I was mortified, right? And
I did not know that. I had no idea.
When I was in graduate school, it was so bad. And I was the same way of like, I will do anything to figure this out. And that's what started me on my path with understanding nutrition so much more than I think the average acupuncturist, because, you know, I had gone through it myself, and I was doing, you remember the fat flush plan, right? That was Ann Louise Gilman back in the day. But that changed my life, because I started to learn that, like, sugar was flaring me up, red wine was flaring me up. I didn't know any of that until I eliminated everything, caffeine, you know, and then also made some significant changes in my life. Yes. And that's when, because I had a lot of emotional stuff that I was kind of suppressing, and then, you know, began to figure all that out. And so I think Body Belief is a culmination of my personal growth, but also 15 years of clinical experience. What I've seen patients go through over, you know, it's almost 15 years. So it's a long time I've been in practice. And that people get to the point where they're willing to do anything to feel better. And And why not? You deserve it. And it's really not that hard of a lifestyle. We live that lifestyle so much right now, you and I. And, you know, now we can see it from the other side that the pros so far outweigh the cons.
Oh, totally.
I trust everything, you know?
Yes, exactly. I feel the same way. I can't imagine going back, not any amount of my body wants to go through that again. It's just like, it was the worst.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, eczema is kind of minor in comparison to like someone like your mom with rheumatoid arthritis. I mean, that's debilitating, right? It was debilitating to me on a superficial level, but I could still go out for a run, and I still had decent energy. I was just mortified of my presentation to the world, you know?
Sure. But that in and of itself, I think we underestimate, I think you definitely address this in the book, we underestimate the emotional components, how our emotions really do impact our physical health. And
it's so underestimated. There's more research now supporting it, which is great, but it's so underestimated. And often what I see clinically, when the radical healing takes place, when that, like, there's almost like this shift that happens, and you probably see it as well, it's when the emotional piece is exposed and dealt with, you know, or maybe just even acknowledged, not even dealt with, because dealing may be a lifelong thing, but the witnessing, the actual saying of it out loud, this is how I've felt, this is what I've been bottling up, or, you know, because if we think about autoimmunity too, it's basically a case of misidentification. And so I make the argument in the book of if their cells are misidentifying themselves, like, where are you misidentified with yourself? Where are you not being true to yourself? And once we open that piece up, that's when the true healing takes place. I think that's when we really step into our worthiness and realize we're allowed, and we're so damn worthy of feeling better.
Yes. I know. I constantly say this to women, that you deserve so much better. And somewhere along the way, we got the message that we didn't. And here we are. But
I have like the most common limiting self-beliefs in the book. And one of them is nobody feels that good. Right. So it's just like, oh, well, this is good enough, isn't it? And it's no.
You're like, no. I know. I can just imagine you telling me that.
Like 70, 80%. It's like, no, you deserve 90, 95, even 100%. You deserve it. You deserve to wake up good most days. That's what you deserve.
Yeah. I mean, you even saying 100%, I'm like, oh, wow. Yeah, I can't.
But also, that's what we fall in. There's another limiting belief that we talk about of like, I feel bad feeling good. So I feel bad if I'm 100% because most people aren't. So who am I? Like, then I'm like, sound like an egotistical, you know, maniac. Oh, I feel good all the time. People begin to like hate you for it.
Yeah, exactly. They're like, oh, that's
gotta be lying. Feels that good, right?
Exactly.
So we downplay our wellness. You know, and then other people downplay everything, and they say, well, nobody really feels that good. So this is fine. This is as good as it gets. And it doesn't have to be that way. You don't have to settle for that. And it's also not your genetics. That's another limiting belief that I completely dispel, you know, which we talked about a little bit here, but epigenetics trumps everything. So how you live your life, and that's emotional, physical, and nutritional, impacts your genetic presentation. So don't forget that.
Yeah, I know. I feel like the genetic side is just such a cop-out, not on the part of a patient, but on the part of the sort of conventional medical standards. Just like
what we were told, though, too, right?
Yeah.
You know, your chances are higher now. You know, and that might be true.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. But
so different, and the choices you make directly impact that you know, presentation of the disease or illness. More than anything else. And your thoughts. I did a Facebook Live earlier on Hay House today, and it was all about like how your thoughts are more powerful than your genetics when it comes to your wellness.
It's so true, isn't it? I mean, I think of us as being really great examples of that. Like being in graduate school, I was in college, I had joint pain so bad that I could barely walk down the stairs of my apartment building. And I was 21, 22. And so it's just crazy when you think about, you know, when people tell me, oh yeah, this is just aging, whatever. I'm like, no, I felt like an 80-year-old in a 21-year-old body. So I can guarantee that that's not just like the trajectory that we should all accept.
I agree. It's not normal. It's not okay. We should not accept it.
I agree completely. I know. So anyways, I know that we have a short window. So I just wanted to let you share where everyone can find your book on its big launch birthday.
I mean, it's anywhere books are sold. Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, some of the indie sites too. You can go to aimeeraupp.com/book gift, GIFT. And we have listed all the sites where you can buy it. And then also on there is, once you purchase, you can put in, you get our free 5-hour digital workshop, which is incredible. It's a lot of information. And then you get the amazing Facebook community that goes with it. And yeah, and you can find out more about me at aimeeraupp.com. All my books are on my site as well. But here she is. I'm so excited that she's out in the world. I can't wait. And may it, help every person that needs it.
Oh, yes. Okay. So that link, by the way, everyone, I put it into the description of this video.
Oh,
so thanks, Aimee. Congratulations again. I'm so glad that we had this little chat and that I was able to share about your brand new book, baby, because I feel like this is really information that women need to be armed with when it comes to sort of like, it's almost like a fight against the traditional way of doing things. We've got to change that paradigm.
We have to shift that conversation that we're having with ourselves, and we have to learn to be a lot kinder than we are. And it's not about eradicating the bully in our brain. I think that will always exist, but just that you're more kind to yourself than you're not. And if that's it, you're winning, really.
Oh, yes. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you. Okay.
All right.
I'll talk to you later. I'll see you.
Right.
I'll see you
Thanks,
later.
everyone. Bye, Aimee. Bye.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Nicole.